Welcome to the Creating High Performance Athletes podcast. I'm your host, Olympian Jonathan Edwards. Let's get started. Hey everybody, listen, it's Wednesday. You may be listening to me on some day other than a Wednesday, but either way, I'm excited you're here. Got a lot of great stuff talking about today. We're going to talk about why your words matter, all right? And I'm going to share some stories about it, about why your words matter and what to do about it, because one of the things that I see happen all the time, and it really bothers me, is when an athlete is working real hard, but what the words they hear from their parents actually hold them back. And so that's a little disappointing, obviously. Because what I hate to see is I hate to see when the good work of an athlete gets kind of submarined by just kind of a lack of understanding, right? And so that's what I want to talk about today, because one of the things that we need to understand as athletes and parents and coaches is that we are affected. You know, our athletes are affected. We're affected, right? I think it's important to start there, right? If you're the adult listening to me and you're dealing with young athletes, is you got to understand that, you know, our mind, like we paint a picture in our mind, right, with our words, right? And so what happens is our mind then sees that picture and it believes it, right? Whether it's real or it's imagined, right? And so one of the things I tell all my athletes is that, listen, you know, have you ever had a bad dream, right? And they'll go, yeah. I said, well, you know, did you wake up and, you know, were you feeling like kind of crazy? Like one of the stories I share, and a lot of my athletes will understand this, is that, so there's a goalie, when I grew up, this goalie that played for the Edmonton Oilers. Holy smokes, and look who comes in, people from Edmonton, this is great. Owen, hello. The Grant Fuhr is one of the greatest goalies of all time, and he's a Hall of Famer. And I read his biography when he was young, and I read this story about how he used to make kick saves when he was asleep at night. And he used to make kick saves so well in his sleep that he literally kicked his wife out of bed, like she had to sleep in another room. And so, you know, he wasn't in a hockey game, he was in bed, you know, but his mind was painting this picture of the hockey game. And because of that, his body was like, all right, we're in a hockey game. What do we got to do? And so everybody can kind of relate to this. You know, I have one that happens all the time. It's like when I'm just kind of falling asleep, something happens and all of a sudden I flinch, like, you know, I get this big flinch. And sometimes I'm either like catching a ball or I'm tripping down a flight of stairs or something, whatever. But the point is that our mind paints this picture, right? And so for our athletes, what tends to happen is, as parents, we don't want to see our athlete disappointed. Right? Like, I mean, that's really where push comes to shove. It's like we want to see our athletes succeed. For a lot of parents, they don't want to see their athlete quit, right? They don't want to see their athlete quit because sports is a big part of their life. It seems like a little oasis in a tough life. You know, I work with a lot of families where they're divorced or they're going through divorce, and sport is that thing that kind of, it's like that anchor for the kid, and they don't want to lose it. But then the athlete's involved, and so what ends up happening is that a parent can say things and the athlete picks them up. And so a couple of words that I just wanted to point out today were ones like wish or hope. And those are two really big, like, fluff words. They're not concrete. Because as an athlete in a sport, one of the things that we need is we need definitive stuff, right? I always tell people, like, you know, as I was an Olympic athlete in a timed event, a goalie in every sport that I played, and an only child. And so I say, like, well, what does that make me? And some idiot in the back will be like, spoiled. I'm like, no. It makes me really impatient, right? I just want to know what I need to know to get better, right? So when you say things like, oh, well, I hope I'll do okay today. And it's like, that's so vague. It's like you've just launched this big cloud. Like, hopefully my athlete will do well today. Well, I wish they'll do well today. Well, remove that and ask, like, okay, what would give me the best chance to succeed today? Right? So I wrote about this in my book, in An Athlete's Guide to Winning in Sports and Life, which is on Amazon, and I hope you get a copy and give it to the athlete in your life or maybe their coaches. But I tell this story about when I was in Igls, Austria, and so Igls, IGLS, you can Google it, is this little town on the side of an Alp outside of Innsbruck, Austria. Innsbruck is a beautiful city, and but where the luge track was, right up in Igls. On this particular day, it was right in the like cloud line. And so it was that session, like, and our session was like 3 hours long. It was ridiculous. But we're in the ladies start, so the ladies and the doubles, we're all trained together. And so it's busy. There's lots of people in there. But it was a weird day, and we kept getting delayed because it was snowing, and it was kind of rainy, and then it was foggy, and then the timing eyes were getting covered with like frost, and it was just weird. And so it was all the things, and even the clouds might break through, the sun would break through, and things like that. So, but that day, I remember people going like, "Oh, you'd have one person say like, I love the snow," and the other person over here would say like, "Oh, I hate the snow," and then someone would say like, I don't mind sliding in the rain," and somebody else would be like, "Oh, I can't stand sliding in the rain," and someone would say like, "Oh, I just love sliding when it's bright and sunny." And then somebody else would be like, "Oh, but when it's bright and sunny, like it's in my eyes and I can't see and it's distracting, blah, blah." And so you had this like huge spectrum of people talking and using words to describe the same situation, but it was like everybody had a different belief, right? And I remember that day wondering like, what if I was able to believe the thing I needed to believe in that situation that gave me the best chance to succeed? And nobody had ever taught me that. It just occurred to me. I was wondering like, I wonder if the best athletes, like if they, if when it snows, if they're like, I'm really good in the snow, right? Or I'm really bad in the rain, or whatever. Like, it's just, if they just adopted the belief they needed to succeed. And this is where a lot of families go south, is that in an effort to put their athlete in a chance to do their, quote unquote, do their best, they don't commit to say like, listen, it's not about hope. Like, yeah, it's raining today, or it's you're running cross country and the weather changed and now it's like 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's like kind of spitting rain, and all summer long all you did was run in the heat, right? Well, the athlete is like, well, I hope I do okay today. It's like, listen, what do you need to do today to succeed? Like, what do you have to do? Right? What is it? Like, what is it? Well, I don't know. No. I don't know is also like hope and wish. It's like, if you knew, what would it be? And this is where, if you're a parent and you're working with your kid, and you got to say like, okay, listen, what do you got to do? Like my son, for this, I mean, you guys know, a lot of you guys know my son, but he's 14 years old. He's in that great teenage where it's like, you ask him like, well, what's going on? And he goes, I don't know. And I don't know, what is it? I don't know. And then, you got to keep going a bit until you get an answer. But this is where once the athlete knows, then they can now do something with that, right? So to use that example of like that cross country runner, where now all of a sudden it's freezing, it's like, well, what do I need to be successful today? Well, I need layers. Why do you need layers? Well, I need to have a warm up. I need to get warm up. And what I have, I'm not probably going to be warm enough in warm up. So then I'd be cold in the race, and that won't go very well. So I need to be warmer in warm up. So, okay, so what do you need? Well, I need a sweatshirt. Okay. I need an extra layer under that, but I don't have one. So we got to go to the store to get one. Maybe I need some gloves. Maybe I could borrow some gloves. But maybe, okay, it's going to rain. It's supposed to rain. So what do I need to do to be prepared for that? Well, okay, now I need a rain jacket. But maybe if I need a rain jacket, maybe I need some pants. Maybe I need some rain pants, because if I want to be dry for warm up, so I can warm up, because then once I start running, then I'll be able to shed those layers. Maybe you start with a hoodie, you shed the jacket, you start with a hoodie, and then you run the first like half mile, and then you can drop the hoodie, like whatever. But at least you now have a plan. So instead of a hope and a wish, and it's now a plan. And so one of the things I encourage all my athletes to do is to just eliminate any like wishy-washy vocab and say like, well, if you were to succeed today, what would it look like? What needs to happen? What's going to give you the best chance to success? Because when you decide that, all right, if okay, I want to be successful today. Well, okay, great. What do you need to do to make that happen? Right? It's not that I hope, it's what do I need to do? Because then when you know, then an athlete can now make concrete decisions. And then this is where the most important part of it comes from, right? Is that when an athlete fails, right? I'm going to do a whole nother podcast on this, but I'm working on an article that's going to go online here shortly, called 10 mental skills for today's modern athlete. That's the name of the article. But so one of the things that happens when athletes lose, right? Nobody likes to talk about losing, but when athletes lose, right? They go through the same 5 stages of grief that somebody goes through when someone dies, right? Or your girlfriend breaks up with you or whatever. Like an athlete, so when they lose an event that they care about, right? They then go through the 5 stages of grieving, okay? And so the reason why I share that is because people think, well, no, they don't. Well, yeah, they do. They may go through it in different layers, right? So, they might not get super angry. They might not try to, bargain too much. They might not get too depressed, but they still go through these they might touch on these layers in little bits. But sometimes you have an athlete where it's like they had so much invest in this event and then they don't have a good day. And now they're like totally off the deep end. Right? You're like, they're going to commit suicide. They're going to jump off a bridge. Like it's horrible. And it's like U10 soccer. Like, no. But the point is this, is an athlete goes through those 5 stages of grieving, right? But the last stage that nobody talks about, because they're just trying to avoid it to begin with, the last stage is called acceptance. And that's the most important stage for an athlete to go through. So imagine this, so your athlete goes out and they have an event and they don't do very well, right? And they don't win. And so now they go home and they're going through all the stages. And it might take them 10 minutes, it might take them 2 days, it might take them a week, it might take the whole off season, who knows. But the point is that they're going to go through these stages. And they may bounce back and forth between the stages too. They might be like get to acceptance, but then they might go back to depression, or they might get back to anger a little bit, or bargaining, or things like that. Anyway, but the point is that when they get to that last stage, which is acceptance, that's the point that helps your athlete solidify their original athletic goals. So when I was left off my first Olympic team, it was a bit of a surprise. So my teammate and I, we were the fastest team in the United States. We were top 6 in the world at the Olympic track. And then we went back to Lake Placid for Olympic trials, and we didn't do very well. We finished 3rd in a really close race. But because we didn't win, the team that won automatically made the Olympic team. The second team that was going to go to the Olympics was going to be picked by the coaches. And what happened was, just through, I'll spare you the details right now, but through a chain of events, we got left off the team. And that was really traumatic because going into that race, everybody was like, well, hey, even if you don't win, you're still going to go. Like they're not going to let you. So we went into the race thinking like, even if we don't win, we're still making the Olympic team, right? And so to not make it was like a complete kick in the balls, right? And so then we went through all the stages of grieving. Like we were like in disbelief, like I can't believe this didn't happen. And then we were like bargaining. We're like, well, what happens if maybe we can go. And then we're like angry. We're like, oh my God, I just hate the world. And doesn't this suck and whatever. But then we got to acceptance. And the acceptance stage is where we basically doubled down to our goals. We were like, the next Olympic team, we're going to be so damn good that they have to pick us, right? That was the deal. We're going to be so damn good that they They can't not take us. That was the deal. But we would have not gotten to that point had we been really concrete, had gone through those stages, and then hit acceptance level. So how does this go tie into your words matter? Well, a lot of families will have an athlete and they'll never really buy in. They'll never really double down. They'll never really just go like, this is the thing you're shooting for. And they'll say, well, hopefully Jimmy does well this season. And hopefully the schools start to recruit him. Or we're hopeful that we really wish that this school would work out. Right? That's all just fluff and air. What happens is that when Jimmy decides, like 3 years prior to that, he goes out to his event and he goes, I'm going to do well today. And he commits to it. And then he loses. Because from the loss is where you get all these other good things that happen, right? And then he comes back to the next event, and it's not a hope or a wish or whatever. He's now going like, well, last event, I was hoping that it was going to work out, and it didn't work out, so I was totally unprepared, and it was a missed opportunity. And that's the thing. We don't want any missed opportunities for our athletes. We just want every opportunity. We want everything working, right? And so what happens then is that Jimmy now comes to this next event. He's not hoping. He's not wishing. He's not like for the Olympics that I competed in. This is kind of interesting. For the Olympics that I competed in, it was the first track in the world that the labyrinth section of this track was facing a certain direction, and the sun was shining like right up that. And so if everybody had hoped and wished that the sun wasn't going to be too bad on race day, they would have just shown up and then everybody would have been blinded. But because people didn't hope or wish and they decided like, well, how can we succeed in that bright sunlight? It created a new technology, which was tinted shields, right? So the first tinted face shields in the entire sport were created for that Olympics because somebody wasn't hoping or wishing that it was going to be okay. They were like, how are we going to succeed if this happens, if the sun is shining, right? And so that's where what I encourage all my families to do is like, don't hope, don't wish, don't pray for somebody to break a leg. What you really need to do is you need to understand that you're coming to this with a plan, right? And so eliminate any sort of vocab like that. Come at it with the approach that how are we going to succeed? And it can be a we. Like, some families, they want it to all be their kid. They want their kid to drive the bus, basically. They want their kid to make all the decisions. But you know what? Kids are kids, right? We don't know. We don't have all the answers. We don't have all the experience that an adult has, right? And so, yeah, sure, your athlete may go like, no, mom, dad, I don't need that extra set of clothes on race day. We'll just tuck it in their bag, right? Tuck it in their bag, right? Do that. They'll be thankful if it's there because your level of understanding is better than their level of understanding, right? And I don't think that ever really goes away, to be honest, right? So the name, the video, the purpose of this audio and this video today was to talk about like why words matter. And so I want to make sure that all the words that you use as a parent, as a coach, as an athlete are directed towards like the positive outcome of this next event. Not you're hoping, not you're wishing, not you're praying. This is how we're going to make the most out of this experience because from that, you're going to get feedback. From that, from the loss, from the failure, if it doesn't go, if you don't win, you're going to go all the way, your athlete's going to go down all those stages of grief and get to acceptance. And from that acceptance, they're now going to double back on their goals. They're going to double back on their commitment, right? And from there, now the words get even better and better and better, because what happens is most athletes don't do this, and they miss all these opportunities to learn. And we want to make the most out of every single opportunity. That's really what this is all about. We want to get the most. We want to squeeze every bit of learning out of every practice, after every train session, after every video they watch, after every rep they take. We want feedback, because the more feedback an athlete gets and they absorb, the better they'll get sooner, right? And the more feedback they have sooner, the better they'll be long term, right? So thanks for watching, everybody. It looks like we got a little bit of a technical glitch on one of these sides, but I'll upload the video. If you're listening to me on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, do me a favor, send me a note. Tell me what you're thinking. Did you like this one? If you leave a review, you can just kind of scroll through your phone, you can leave a review, that'd be great. But email me, coachedwards@athletespecific.com. But also, like, if you are a parent or you're an athlete or you're a coach, and you've got an athlete who's aspiring to big dreams and they'd be a good fit for my Athlete Breakthrough Blueprint, which is my high-end coaching program, I want to hear about them. I want to hear from them. Doesn't matter what the sport. I work with athletes across a whole variety of sports. Doesn't matter if their dreams, they're trying to go to the Olympics, they're trying to play D1, they're trying to get into college, whatever it is. I work with those athletes and I take them through 12 weeks of mental performance training, and I want to work with your athlete as well. All right. So it's not cheap, but it's awesome. All right. So listen, thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. Email me, coachedwards@athletespecific.com. And as always, share this with an athlete, a parent, or coach who needs to hear it, and invite them to the Raising High Performing Athletes Facebook group. And I will see you next week. Cheers.